Hi again, this is another tutorial. In this case it's actually a bit more of a discussion, I suppose, just about static and non-static categories. What I mean by that is that some categories are open to change and others are not in terms of the data. So looking at these top few, if you select the UK and Ireland or race code or track, just use UK and Ireland, it's static in terms of you can guarantee that if you have selected Ireland as your system criteria, then it's not going to change. It's absolutely static. It's not going to suddenly move to the UK overnight. So the problem for certain categories is when they're not static, and that covers things. Let's have a quick look at the help menu here, which does list all the different types. So these are categories which are open to change, and it's very important that you realise that they are, because obviously if you're betting with real money, then you need to be comfortable with what you're doing. And if you're choosing any category which involves possible change, then you have to accept from the outset that there's a possibility of change. So a common one would be jockey. A lot of people like certain jockeys, and every day when you view your qualifiers, if you're, for example, I'm going to just quickly select a jockey who's probably got rides today. So let's go for Paul Carberry. So he's got 3 rides today at Tramore, and at this precise moment, if I had set this up as a system, then I would be, of course, interested in these 3 runners. But of course, if Paul Carberry gets injured today, or for whatever reason does not take these rides, and I've already placed the bets, then that's something that I would have to have accepted beforehand. And it's why it's so important to recognise that the possibility of a jockey change is important. Similarly, he could pick up another spare ride that then goes on to win, and I've not backed it, and sometimes people get disappointed or whatever. Obviously, the closer you can check to the off, the better for any of these things. So that's one example using a jockey. As you'll see, very likely is listed in terms of the likelihood of change for odds. Now the reason for that is that odds are just fluctuating all day long. As you'll see if you go to any race and have a look at the live odds tracker. So if we look at it's early on a Sunday here, so there's not much happening, but you can see this, Indian Streams early on it was 5-1, then it's gone to 7-2. Well, the forecast was 5-1. Oh, this morning it was 7-2, and then at 12 o'clock it was 9-2. If you go in and look at races, you know yourself that the odds are likely to change. So a lot of people do like to include odds in their systems, and all I can really say is that if you're doing so, you need to really think hard about the range that you want to use. So, let's have a look at a specific example. If I start a new system completely and add in, let's say, the odds at SP of exactly evens, purely just to make the point here. Sorry, taking ages here, but since 2003 there's been 3,942 runners who've been exactly evens. If you were going to specify that as your criteria, I don't know why anyone would, but if you did, you would have to be at the PC right up to the off to actually guarantee you're going to get them. And even then, I don't think you'd pick up every single one. So then you would say, right, maybe I'll expand the odds range out and say say you made it between 1 to 2 and 5 to 4. It's obviously increases dramatically the number of qualifiers. But again, if we look at today, so at the moment there's 4 runners matching that new range that I've put in. But again, this is where static and non-static criteria comes into effect. There's one at 525 in Tremor Pearl Diamond. At this precise moment, I don't know what price that horse will go off, and it might change out with the odds range. And similarly, the odds of other horses could easily drift into that range. So I am going on about it, but it's very, very important to understand that these categories listed as non-static are open to change, and therefore, unless you're checking your criteria regularly, it's basically best to accept beforehand that some are going to change either way, and at times it might seem like your luck is out, and at times it might seem that you're jammy, and ones that are dropping out are losing, etc. So that's static and non-static criteria. I just wanted to quickly show you, if we go to the Add tab and add in odds for this one that we had here. Just any old odds range. When you go to save a system, you will see that the non-static categories are shown here when you're saving. I like to make it really clear, and that's why I've done this video tutorial, because it's the most common complaint that I get, is that people that have missed a system qualifier or whatever, and unfortunately there's really nothing that can be done about it apart from checking right up until the off, or accepting that certain categories are open to change. So I hope that's explained a little bit better in terms of which categories are static and non-static, and what it actually means. If there's any problems, please do give me a shout, and as always, if there's any suggestions of other videos, please do get in touch. Cheers.